Sometimes the oldest stories have the most to teach us. Today, we're diving into a collection of tales that are over 1,500 years old, the Miscellaneous Parables Sutra. The big question is, what can fables from that long ago possibly teach us about our lives today? Well, let's find out. So, what exactly is this book? Well, it was put together way back in the 4th or 5th century by a monk named Lu. And honestly, you can think of it as kind of like a Buddhist version of Aesop's fables. They're these short, really potent little stories designed to teach us some deep truths about who we are, how we think, and our own morality. And that really is the central question for us here. Are these just dusty old tales sitting on a shelf somewhere? Or do they hold up a mirror to the exact same challenges that you and I face in our own lives, right here, right now? Let's dig in and see. Yeah, these aren't just historical artifacts you'd find behind glass in a museum. They're much more like thought experiments. They're specifically designed to make us pause and question our own choices, our intentions, and the real impact we have on the world around us. Okay, let's start with our first theme, which I'm calling the weight of a thought. This first parable gets into a fascinating and kind of radical idea that sometimes our intentions can matter even more than our actions. So, picture this. You've got this young, novice monk, and he's struggling along, carrying his master's heavy bags. But then, in this single, powerful flash of a moment, this huge, selfless thought just ignites in his mind. He thinks, I will dedicate my life not just to my own enlightenment, but to saving all beings. And get this, instantly, his master, who can read minds, stops him. Without any explanation, he takes the bags himself and just tells the novice, walk in front of me. The master is actually honoring the sheer power of that one single, selfless thought. But you know how it is. As the novice starts walking ahead, feeling pretty important, that little voice of doubt starts to creep in. He thinks to himself, wow, this bodhisattva path, that's incredibly difficult. It's too much. So then he thinks, you know what? It's better to just focus on my own liberation and become an arhat. And just as quickly as it began, the master senses the change in his student's mind. He stops the novice once more, and with his quiet authority, just says, take the bags, walk behind me. You can just imagine how confused this young monk must have been. But the lesson isn't quite over yet. And here's the punchline, the core lesson. The master finally explains that the fleeting, pure intention to save everyone, that bodhisattva vow, was so powerful that it actually elevated the novice above even an enlightened master. But the moment that ambition shrank, the moment he made it just about himself, so did his spiritual importance. It's a powerful reminder that the sheer scale of our ambitions can change everything. All right, let's move on to our second story and see how this all builds. This next one really challenges our simple black and white ideas about karma and what it even means to be a good person. So, this story hits us with a really fascinating dilemma. Imagine you have two brothers. One of them follows every single rule to the letter, but he's stingy. The other one, he breaks a lot of rules, but he's incredibly generous. So, which one would you bet on to end up in a better place? So let's break this down. The first brother was a model of discipline, right? He followed every rule perfectly. But, and this is a big but, the text says he hated charity, just couldn't stand it. The second brother was his total opposite. He was pretty lax with the rules, but his defining trait was this boundless, joyful generosity. And this is where karma gets really complex and interesting. In their next lives, the pious but stingy brother is reborn as a human monk again, but it's during a terrible famine. His past refusal to give means he can never receive, and he literally starves. The generous but flawed brother, he gets reborn as a magnificent elephant, adored by the king, covered in jewels, and fed the absolute finest foods. His generosity was rewarded with pure abundance. So one day, the starving monk stumbles near the palace, and he sees this pampered elephant. And in a flash of insight, he just knows. He recognizes the soul of his former brother. He walks right up to the elephant, takes its ear, and says just one thing. You and I both have karmic debts. I mean, wow. What a heartbreaking and profound moment. The starving monk finally understands his own lack of compassion led to his suffering. And when the elephant hears this, he remembers his past life. He realizes that while his generosity brought luxury, his lack of discipline meant he was reborn as an animal, not a human. Neither of them got it perfectly right. So, what do we take away from all this? How do these ancient stories actually apply to our lives, right here, right now? Let's connect the dots. Okay, so a few key takeaways. First, the story of the novice monk reminds us that our intentions have a real power all their own. It kind of pushes back against that imposter syndrome that tells us we aren't worthy of big goals. It's really an invitation to dream bigger and aim higher. Second, the two brothers teach us that morality isn't some simple checklist. True wisdom is in balancing compassion with discipline. You see, these fables are so much more than just stories. They're mirrors that help us examine our own lives. So I'll just leave you with this question. Which of these lessons resonates the most with you? Is it the power of a single grand intention to change your world? Or is it that messy, beautiful challenge of trying to balance your flaws with your virtues? These ancient stories don't offer easy answers, but that's what makes them great. They just ask the questions that will echo through the ages.